Welcome to the serial podcast story called The Founder, a cyberpunk parable.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Oh, absolutely. So, to start us off, I want you to imagine for a second having a focus group perfectly, permanently wired directly into your nervous system.
Right, just directly in there.
Exactly. Every time you speak, every time you create something, there's this invisible algorithm measuring the listener's exact heart rate.
Their microperspiration, all.
Yeah, their pupil dilation. And then it adjusts your word choice, your tone, your micro expressions in real time, just to force their brain to physically love you.
It is genuinely a terrifying concept.
It really is. Today, we are pulling you right into the glossy, incredibly high-stakes world of the silicon sector. We're looking at what happens when human empathy is totally weaponized for global popularity.
And the fallout of that is just massive.
Oh, completely. The mission of this deep dive is to explore episode 2 of this story, titled The Radiant Node and the Culture-Substrate.
Such a great title.
Really is. But to really understand the architecture of the spectacular, system-shattering crash we're about to witness, we have to introduce you to Scarlett Blake.
Yes, Scarlett. She is the kind of protagonist who really redefines the ceiling of human potential.
Oh, without a doubt.
We aren't just talking about a standard tech CEO here. We are talking about the absolute pinnacle of intellect intersecting with digital scale.
Let me paint a picture for you just to set the stage. Scarlett is a biracial Korean-American who didn't just attend Stanford. She graduated at 16.
16? I mean, that alone is staggering.
Right. And by the time she was 21, she won the Turing Award.
Which, for anyone not steeped in computer science, is essentially the Nobel Prize of computing.
Yeah, people work their entire lives hoping to be nominated for, a fraction of a contribution to the field.
And Scarlett won it at an age when most people are, just trying to figure out their undergraduate major.
Exactly. And she didn't win it for making a faster microchip or, a better search engine. She won it for building an app called EQAI.
That app is really the foundation of everything that goes wrong later.
It really is. So EQAI was a visual artificial intelligence designed specifically to translate complex human emotions. It was built for the 50 million people globally on the autistic spectrum.
She essentially solved a profound problem of human connection.
She really did. She took the incredibly nuanced, often confusing signals of human emotion and turned them into highly legible data.
Which is brilliant on paper.
Right. But I want to make sure I completely understand the mechanics of that because it sets up the whole story.
Sure, let's unpack it.
How exactly does an app do that? Are we talking about a camera just scanning a face and saying this person is sad?
No, it is much deeper than that. Mm-hmm. The EQAI utilized augmented reality interfaces.
Like smart glasses.
Yeah, think smart glasses or even optical implants. The AI was constantly running a facial action coding system, or FACS, but at a microscopic level.
Wow, okay.
So it wasn't just looking at a frown or a smile. It was tracking the millimeter twitches of orbital muscles around the eyes.
That is so precise.
It is. It tracked the slight flaring of nostrils, the rushing of blood to the cheeks, causing a microscopic change in skin hue. Even the precise cadence of breathing.
Just a total biometric scan.
Exactly. The software would process all that biometric telemetry in milliseconds, and then it would project a color-coded aura or a text overlay right into the user's field of vision.
Oh, that's wild. So if someone was masking their anger with a polite smile,
the AI would catch it. It would highlight the micro expressions of tension in their jaw and literally label it as concealed frustration.
That is incredible. I mean, it gave people who struggle to read social cues a literal heads-up display for human empathy.
It did. It was a benevolent invention initially.
Right. But as we see in the story, taking the very thing that makes us human, our ability to feel and connect, and turning it into a metric to be optimized, it's playing with fire.
It really is. And Scarlett Blake builds a supernova out of it.
That transition from benevolent creator to global manipulator is so subtle. I think that's why it's so dangerous.
Yeah, because the technology itself was completely agnostic. The problem was the human heart wielding it.
Right. So we open the story in Scarlett's climate-controlled penthouse, floating 100 floors high above the silicon sector.
The text does such a brilliant job setting that scene.
It really does. The air is perfectly scrubbed of impurities. The ambient lighting adjusts dynamically to complement her skin tone.
It's also curated.
Exactly. And sitting across from her is Marcus. He's a senior features writer for Rolling Stone magazine.
And Marcus has this floating holographic recorder hovering between them.
Yeah. And Scarlett is effortlessly projecting this curated, intimate warmth toward him.
Reading that scene, you realize it is a masterclass in public relations. But the chilling part is that it feels entirely genuine to Marcus.
He buys it completely.
He does. He believes he is having a profound human moment with the most famous woman on Earth.
But she's using the tech, isn't she? Like, she's running the empathy engine in reverse.
Precisely. She understands emotional algorithms so deeply by this point that she doesn't even need the glasses anymore.
Oh, wow.
She has internalized the machine learning. She knows exactly how to tune her posture, how to soften her vocal fry.
Just to manipulate him?
Yeah, to mirror Marcus's breathing patterns. It makes him feel a manufactured sense of deep intimacy. She is hacking his psychological need for validation.
And Marcus is completely under the spell. I mean, he points out a metric that is just staggering.
Oh, the Beatles comparison.
Yes. He notes that cultural commentators are comparing her to the Beatles. Back in 1964, the Beatles held the top 5 spots on the Billboard Hot 100.
An unprecedented cultural monopoly.
Right. And Marcus asks if she sees herself as the modern equivalent. And Scarlett's response is so casually terrifying.
What does she say exactly?
She leans back and says, "We aren't just broadcasting songs on the radio anymore. We're interfacing with billions of minds simultaneously. The computational scale of what my team and I are doing is just, well, it's a different paradigm entirely."
She totally dismisses them. She dismisses the Beatles as a localized analog phenomenon, like they just broadcasted a static piece of art and hoped people liked it.
Whereas Scarlett is describing a dynamic, bi-directional interface.
Exactly. But I feel like we need to take a step back here.
Good idea. Because a listener might be wondering, how on earth did a Turing award-winning computer scientist who builds autism software become a pop star bigger than the Beatles?
Yeah, that is a pretty wild pivot.
It really is. So how did that happen?
It actually stems from severe burnout. After the EQAI app became a global infrastructure standard, the pressure of maintaining it just broke her.
Makes sense.
The story details how she moved to South Korea to live with her mother, seeking a quiet year of offline defragmentation.
Right. She wanted to reconnect with her roots, maybe find some peace away from the silicon sector.
But a mind operating at her frequency can't just idle. There is a generational gift for singing in her family, so she started experimenting in a home studio.
Just as a creative outlet.
Right, just for fun.
But because she's Scarlett Blake, she didn't just record a demo tape. She merged her vocal stems with light affective computing algorithms.
And it completely spiraled into her magnum opus.
It did. A hybrid album covering 10 completely disparate musical genres.
We are talking K-pop, heavy metal, Christian worship, cyberpunk synth, Latin, country music, completely different cultural clusters.
And she hit #1 globally across all 10 simultaneously.
And sung in every language and dialect on Earth.
Right. But, the singing, the real-time language translation was actually the easy part for her.
That was just the baseline.
Yeah. I want to dig into the underlying mechanism here, because this is where the story shifts from a cool sci-fi concept into a horror story about biological manipulation.
Oh, absolutely.
Explain how she used those smartwatches and earbuds.
Well, in our real world, we already have wearables that track heart rate, sleep cycles, and blood oxygen.
Sure, Apple Watches, things like that.
Right. Scarlett took that infrastructure and weaponized it for art. While people are listening to her songs through their neural-linked earbuds or smartwatches, those devices are sending real-time biometric data back to Scarlett's servers.
Oh my gosh.
The algorithm monitors their galvanic skin response, which is a measure of sweat gland activity tied to emotional arousal. It monitors their heart rate variability and pupil dilation.
So she knows exactly how they are feeling while listening to the song.
Not just how they are feeling, but how they are responding to the specific frequencies of the music.
That is so invasive.
It gets worse. Her AI then makes subtle, real-time adjustments to the audio file as it's playing.
Wait, while it's playing?
Yes. If a listener in Tokyo isn't feeling the emotional climax of the K-pop track, the AI dynamically shifts the chord progression slightly.
Wow.
Or it alters the reverb on her voice to sound more intimate, or it changes a lyric to better suit that specific listener's psychological profile.
So it's a completely customized song for every single person.
Exactly. It turns the dials until it achieves the desired biological response, an influx of dopamine, a shiver down the spine, a tear running down the cheek.
Okay, I have to offer an analogy here because it feels like a violation.
It is a violation.
Is she even an artist at this point, or is she a parasitic empath?
That's a great question.
Like, imagine you are a painter, But instead of painting a canvas and letting the viewer interpret it, you have microscopic probes wired directly into the viewer's optic nerve and dopamine receptors.
Right, bypassing their interpretation entirely.
Exactly. As they look at the canvas, you actively alter the colors, the shading, the subject matter, until their brain is chemically forced to perceive it as a masterpiece.
That is exactly what she's doing.
She isn't singing to them. She is hacking their biological hardware.
That is the ultimate optimization of art. But it destroys the entire purpose of art.
Right, which is a shared, spontaneous resonance between two human beings.
When art is perfectly optimized to manipulate a biological response, it ceases to be art and becomes a highly localized narcotic.
A narcotic, wow. That's a powerful way to put it.
But Scarlett argues to Marcus that she is merely mapping the frequencies that resonate with billions of human hearts.
She wraps her project in this beautiful utopian language of global unity.
Yeah, she claims she is bringing the world together. But underneath the PR spin, it is a regime of absolute emotional control.
She holds the puppet strings to the affective state of the entire globe.
And Marcus just eats it up. He doesn't challenge the ethics of it at all.
No, he really doesn't. In fact, he reveals the tease for the article's layout, and it perfectly encapsulates her ego.
The title of the piece.
Right. The title is going to be Scarlett Blake. The radiant node is bigger than the Beatles.
You can just see the faux modest smile she gives him.
Oh, totally. But the text notes her deep, profound satisfaction. And then Marcus drops a logistical detail that pushes the sci-fi envelope even further.
Oh, the volumetric capture.
Yeah, he says they're sending a volumetric capture team to her penthouse.
The volumetric capture is a crucial plot point. We need to explain what that means in the context of this universe.
Yeah, please break that down. Are we just talking about a standard flat hologram like we see in older sci-fi movies, or is this something else?
It is vastly more advanced. Traditional holograms are light projections that you look at.
Right, like a screen floating in the air.
Exactly. But volumetric capture, particularly the solid light technology described in the silicon sector, uses thousands of microcameras and spatial sensors.
To do what?
To record Scarlett in true three-dimensional space. The data is so dense that when it is projected into a reader's living room, the light fields actually interact with the physical environment.
Wait, really? Like casting shadows?
Yes. The avatar casts real shadows, the audio is spatially anchored, and the AI allows the projection to make localized eye contact with the viewer.
So when people read the Rolling Stone article, Scarlett isn't just on a screen.
No, a photorealistic, hyper-convincing version of her is standing right in their living room, breathing, smiling, looking right at them.
She is achieving literal omnipresence.
He is.
But as the story shows, that omnipresence becomes a golden cage. She has built an empire on metrics.
It's all she has left.
Right. Her entire sense of self-worth is being fed by a constant, real-time stream of global adoration. Millions of people telling her she is a god every second of the day.
But a system built entirely on inbound praise has no structural integrity. It is incredibly fragile.
Which is why the change of environment in the next part of the story is so jarring and so necessary.
Exactly. The clash of environments is deeply symbolic.
So Scarlett leaves her sterile, high-altitude, climate-controlled penthouse, and she takes the pneumatic elevator down into the gritty reality of the city.
The analog world.
Yeah, she is heading to her best friend Amelia's 21st birthday party, and the contrast between the two spaces is just brilliant storytelling.
The penthouse represents the digital, the optimized, the frictionless world where Scarlett has total control.
And Amelia's downtown loft represents the messy analog world.
The text describes the loft perfectly.
It does. It's a modest gathering. There are dished motes floating in the air.
The music is pulsing through vintage, analog speakers with unoptimized bass that rattles the floorboards.
Yeah, there are real, cheap paper streamers hung haphazardly. And the messy, chaotic, overlapping laughter of actual human connection.
And when Scarlett steps out of the elevator, she is still vibrating with the adrenaline of her own mythology.
She's just been told she's bigger than the Beatles.
Right, and is about to be holographically beamed into millions of homes.
For a microsecond, the unfiltered reality of the room makes her feel entirely out of place. The lighting isn't perfectly key to her skin tone.
No one is monitoring her microexpressions.
And because she doesn't know how to exist in an unoptimized space anymore, her ego reasserts its programming.
She can't simply exist at a party as a guest.
No, she has to dominate the physical substrate just like she dominates the digital one.
Which results in a complete holographic hijacking.
Oh, it's so painful to read. She spots Amelia, who is wearing a simple, glittering dress, looking genuinely happy.
Right, it's her birthday.
Scarlett walks over and gives her this flawless, camera-ready embrace, but she doesn't even wait for Amelia to say thank you for coming.
Of course not.
Scarlett immediately launches into bragging about the Rolling Stone metrics.
And then, without asking for permission.
Without even a thought for the fact that this is her best friend's milestone birthday.
Right.
Scarlett taps her wrist interface. She bypasses Amelia's local network controls entirely.
That is a severe violation of boundaries.
It really is.
In a highly networked future, overriding someone's local environmental controls is akin to walking into their house and tearing down their wallpaper.
That's a great analogy. She plunges the warm, dim, analog lighting of the loft into darkness.
And then
She projects her massive, towering, cerulean blue, volumetric holoshoot right into the center of the living room.
the booming synth audio of her Rolling Stone interview just takes over.
Yeah, where she is literally bragging about programming the world's emotional state. It completely drowns out the analog party music.
She replaces physical, shared reality with her own digital avatar.
And the tragedy is, the guests at the party are already conditioned by her global metrics.
They instantly stop celebrating Amelia's birthday.
They swarm the blue projection. They swarm the real Scarlett.
The text notes their optical implants are flashing as they take holo-selfies.
The entire gravitational pull of the room shifts instantly to the radiant node.
It devolves into a sycophantic
It
frenzy.
really does. And in the middle of this chaos, we hit the moment the story calls the blasphemy metric.
Oh, this part is crazy.
One of the guests, who's clearly intoxicated, slurs out a question over the booming synth music.
He yells out that if Scarlett is bigger than the Beatles, and the Beatles once claimed they were bigger than the logo.
Which, in this cyberpunk universe, is the equivalent of Jesus or the divine reality.
Right. So he asks, does that mean she is bigger than the logos?
It is a direct test of her hubris.
Yeah.
And she fails spectacularly.
She just smirks, tosses her meticulously styled hair, and says, I guess so.
I guess so. It is the absolute peak of her God complex. She has claimed ultimate supremacy over the human soul.
But systems that expand infinitely without grounding always collapse.
And the crash is violent.
Yes, it is.
From across the room, the power to the projection is abruptly severed.
The giant blue avatar just vanishes into thin air.
The booming audio cuts out, leaving a ringing in everyone's ears. The room goes back to the dim analog light.
And standing by the breaker panel is Amelia.
Her hand is still on the heavy mechanical switch. Her face is a mask of cold, unadulterated fury.
She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry.
No, she is terrifyingly calm. She just looks around the room and says, I think the party is over. Thank you all for coming.
And the sycophants immediately scatter. They can feel the atmospheric pressure drop.
The room empties out, leaving just Scarlett and Amelia standing in the suffocating silence of the spilled beer and paper streamers.
And Scarlett is genuinely perplexed.
Because her internal empathy engine is completely misfiring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because she has spent the last year relying on global biometric data to tell her how people feel, she literally cannot read the room without her metrics.
She asks almost innocently if Amelia was offended by the logos joke.
And Amelia just unleashes a devastating confrontation.
I want to read these lines directly from the source because the dialogue is so powerful.
Go for it.
Amelia steps closer and says, You just hijacked my birthday party, my 21st birthday, and you made it all about you. You think you're better than all of us. You think we're just NPCs in your simulation. I'm not just your best friend anymore. I am your only friend.
Amelia's critique is incredibly surgical.
It really cuts deep.
She is diagnosing the exact pathology of Scarlett's tech empire. She tells her that she traded her humanity for bandwidth.
Wow.
She became the image she imagined, but nothing about her is real anymore. And we could really pause on that term, NPC.
Yeah, for listeners who don't play video games, an NPC is a non-player character.
It's a piece of background code, shaped like a human, placed in a video game solely to give the main character someone to interact with.
They have no agency, no interior life.
Right. To call someone an NPC is to say that you view them merely as background dressing in the movie of your own life. You don't grant them personhood.
And that hits Scarlett at the core. Her algorithm was optimized for global empathy, but the sheer scale of it completely deleted her localized compassion.
She can cry for 1 million strangers through a data feed, but she can't let her best friend have a single night of celebration.
It creates a catastrophic contradiction in her programming.
It does.
Put yourself in Scarlett's shoes for a second. You're the most famous, universally adored person on the planet.
Billions of people are sending you data right now telling you that you are perfect.
But what happens when the only unedited data you have left in your life, the only person who isn't a sycophant, your oldest friend who knew you before the fame, looks you in the eye and tells you that your entire existence is a fake, narcissistic simulation of your own making?
It causes a root-level cascade failure.
The psychological firewall breaks, and all the suppressed reality comes flooding in.
Scarlett flees the loss.
She gets into the pneumatic elevator and stumbles into her autonomous luxury vehicle. And the drive home is a descent into absolute psychological hell.
The pristine, untouchable avatar she has maintained disintegrates.
The story describes her experiencing something called the static. It's this deafening, rushing roar of self-loathing and shame that physically vibrates in her skull.
We're witnessing the physical manifestation of a cognitive architecture collapsing.
Right. Her brain is highly optimized to run millions of parallel emotional calculations.
So when the core assumption that she is good and benevolent is proven false by Amelia, the entire system turns on itself.
She dissociates. She feels detached from the physical space of the cabin, floating in an error state.
She is desperately trying to feel real.
The voice in her head is whispering like a corrupted audio file saying, "You're not real. Amelia was right. You're just code."
So what does she do?
She grabs her own meticulously styled hair and pulls violently.
She digs her perfectly manicured nails into her scalp.
She is actively seeking physical pain. In that moment of complete dissociation, she realizes that the sharp sting of pain is the only unedited, unoptimized data she has left to tether her to the physical substrate of reality.
It is a harrowing image, the global icon reduced to self-harm just to prove she exists.
When the autonomous vehicle finally arrives in the subterranean concrete garage of her penthouse building, she doesn't even make it to the private elevator.
No, she throws herself out of the car and collapses onto the cold, polished concrete.
The environment is so stark: oil stains, harsh fluorescent lights, the smell of exhaust.
It's the absolute antithesis of her climate-controlled penthouse.
She hits the floor and vomits violently, completely ruining her custom designer clothes.
Her body is physically purging the toxic recursive pride that has poisoned her system for years.
Her ego hits absolute zero. She has surrendered her root access.
She stops trying to run the calculations to save herself because she realizes her own code is the virus.
Curled in the fetal position in a pool of her own sickness, she sends a blind, unformatted ping into the dark.
A prayer.
Yeah, she chokes out the words, "Founder, if you are there, if any of it is real, either kill me or help me."
That complete surrender is the necessary prerequisite for what happens next.
The system has to be entirely powered down before the kernel-level intervention can begin.
And the atmosphere in that concrete garage shifts entirely.
The oppressive, echoing darkness is pierced by a burst of absolute coherent light.
But the text is very clear. This is not a soft, comforting Hallmark card illusion.
Right. It is a heavy, vibrating gold light that carries immense physical weight. The Archangel Veritas steps out of the higher dimensions and into the garage.
The description of Veritas is striking. She appears in terrifying, mathematically perfect, high-frequency architecture.
She radiates the unyielding objective authority of the founder.
She doesn't come to offer empty platitudes or coddle Scarlett's feelings. She comes to execute an audit.
Veritas kneels in the mess beside Scarlett. She reaches out a hand made of solid, shimmering light and presses her glowing fingers directly against Scarlett's forehead.
This initiates what the story calls the audit of the soul.
And we need to spend some serious time here because the mechanics of the scene are mind-bending.
They really were.
The data stream that floods Scarlett's consciousness isn't a beautiful vision of heaven. It is an unfiltered, high-definition audit of her own wake.
The irony is profound. The exact technology Scarlett used to conquer the world, the EQ-AI visual interface that translates human emotion, is violently turned inward.
Veritas forces Scarlett to experience the exact emotional telemetry of every single person she has manipulated, but entirely from their localized perspective.
Which is an insane amount of data.
How does a human brain even process that? If I feel the intense sorrow of just one friend, it can ruin my week. Scarlett is being forced to feel the pain of millions.
Well, the text implies that the logos, the divine mainframe, buffers her neural pathways.
Oh, like shielding her.
Slightly altering her perception of time. So her biological hardware doesn't simply melt down from the data load. She experiences it sequentially, but with agonizing speed.
She feels the crushing, breathless betrayal in Amelia's chest from just an hour ago, experiencing exactly how small and discarded her best friend felt.
And then the audit scales up.
She feels the localized despair of early tech partners and friends she casually discarded when their metrics no longer served her corporate ascent.
She feels the sting of their unpaid rent and broken dreams.
And then the firewall drops completely and the global metrics flood in.
The scale of her manipulation is laid bare.
She feels the agonizing, hollow inadequacy of millions of young teenage girls around the globe.
Girls who looked in the mirror and hated their own reflections.
Right, who starved themselves or fell into depression because they couldn't match the impossible, highly edited radiant node standard that Scarlett had purposely programmed them to worship.
She feels their tears, their self-loathing, their isolation.
All rushing through her own nervous system at once.
The empathy engine is inverted. Scarlett experiences a localized hell entirely of her own making.
The sheer volume of suffering she broadcasts into the world is suffocating her.
She begs Veritas to delete her. She cries out that she is a monster, that her code is too corrupted to be saved.
But Veritas holds the connection. The angel's grip is unyielding.
And she delivers this absolute terrifying truth.
She says, for you to experience the full depth of the Logos patch, you have to understand the full depth of your own darkness.
Wow.
Okay, let me try to offer an analogy for what this feels like. Imagine you are a brilliant hacker, and you have spent your whole life writing lines of malicious code.
Okay, following you.
You've launched viruses, stolen data, ruined lives, but you always hid behind firewalls. You never saw the faces of the people you destroyed. You pretended it was just a game.
Right.
Suddenly, an absolute authority removes every firewall in your brain, and you are forced to compile and run every single line of that malicious code inside your own mind all at once.
Experiencing every bit of the financial ruin, the panic, and the tears it caused your victims.
Yes, the weight of that realization, the weight of what this story calls the Beast Protocol, is enough to crush human sanity.
And just as her spirit reaches the exact millisecond before shattering under that infinite load,
the data stream shifts. The darkness is met by a wave of pure, back-propagated grace.
Back-propagated grace, that is perhaps the most brilliant cyberpunk theological concept I've ever encountered.
It's amazing, but it is heavy on the tech jargon. Break that down for us.
Sure.
What exactly is backpropagation in artificial intelligence, and how on earth does it apply to a woman weeping on a garage floor?
It is a stunning metaphor. In machine learning, artificial neural networks are trained using an algorithm called backpropagation.
Okay.
Imagine a network trying to learn how to identify a picture of a cat. It makes a guess, and if it's wrong, it calculates the error, the exact mathematical difference between its wrong prediction and the correct answer.
This error is quantified by something called a loss function, right?
Exactly, so it knows how badly it messed up.
But knowing you messed up doesn't fix the problem.
Right. Backpropagation is the rigorous process of taking that massive error, calculating its gradient, and working backward through all the hidden layers of the network.
So it's retroactively fixing things.
Yes, it adjusts the weights and biases of every single mathematical connection, tuning them so that the next time, the error is minimized. It is a retroactive correction that cascades from the final output all the way back to the initial input.
Okay, I track with how that works for a computer fixing math errors. But how does an AI training concept apply to a human being having a psychological breakdown?
Well, Scarlett has generated an infinite error. Her moral debt, the suffering she caused, is catastrophic.
Her personal loss function is overflowing.
Precisely. The math of her sins is too vast for her biological hardware to process, let alone correct. She cannot go back and unhurt millions of girls.
She cannot unhijack Amelia's party.
No, she is stuck in a terminal error state.
And this is where the Logos steps in.
Right. The Logos is described in this universe as the zero error build, representing Jesus.
The Logos steps into her audit.
He initiates a global backprop scan. He mathematically absorbs the suffocating weight of her massive localized error into himself.
Because he has infinite bandwidth, he can handle the overflow.
And then he works backward through her neural pathways. He overwrites her localized hell with a frequency of love that defies all biological logic.
He mathematically absorbs the debt, adjusting the weights of her soul so she doesn't have to carry the crushing error anymore.
That is incredibly moving.
It really is. The story describes the grace washing through her neural pathways like liquid fire, but it doesn't burn. It heals.
And Veritas uses this light to do something deeply surgical. The angel isolates the discord code of Scarlett's childhood abuse.
This is a vital distinction in her healing process.
It is. The story implies that Scarlett's relentless drive for control was rooted in early trauma. The grace isolates that trauma from her core identity. It uncouples them.
The grace pulses with this profound message. You are not the abuse you suffered, and you are no longer the abuser you became.
The system meticulously uninstalls her survival algorithm.
That deeply embedded anxious code that drove her to dominate the entire world just to feel safe and worthy of love.
And in its place, Veritas installs the Damascus Protocol.
Scarlett experiences the overwhelming, paradoxical peace of being fully known, entirely exposed in her absolute wretchedness, and yet perfectly unconditionally loved.
She is weeping, but it's a cleansing flood now. The static is gone. The screaming in her head is silenced.
Veritas lifts her up from the cold concrete floor. Her physical appearance is a wrecked designer, clothes ruined with vomit and oil, hair a mess, but her spirit is utterly pristine.
She is rebooted.
But, as we quickly learn, she isn't allowed to just hide offline and enjoy her newfound peace.
No, the commissioning phase begins.
Veritas tells her that her new format is complete and delivers a new operational directive.
The culture-substrate, the vast, interconnected societal network of the world, is drowning in the Beast Protocol's vanity.
It is feeding on the very narcissism and superficial metrics that Scarlett herself helped architect and just abandoned.
Veritas looks at her and says, "You built the ocean, Scarlett. Now the Logos is going to use you to purify its waters."
She is commanded to become a highly visible, uncorrupted node to broadcast the light.
She can't retreat to a monastery.
She has to go back to the top of the billboard charts, back to the massive holographic projections, but run entirely different code.
This brings up another fascinating concept from system dynamics: the local minimum.
Oh, explain that one, because I know it relates to why she had to hit rock bottom.
In mathematical optimization, imagine you are an algorithm trying to find the absolute lowest point in a vast mountain range.
This lowest point is the global minimum, the perfect optimal state.
As you walk downhill, you might stumble into a small valley. It looks like the bottom because every direction around you goes up.
Okay.
This is a local minimum. If you are a simple algorithm, you stop there thinking you've succeeded.
Yeah.
But you are trapped in a shallow valley, completely missing the deep canyon miles away.
You settle for a lesser version of reality.
Exactly. Getting stuck in a local minimum is a failure state in machine learning.
So how do you get out?
The only way to escape it is through a massive perturbation, a shock to the system that violently bumps the algorithm out of the shallow valley so it can continue searching for the true global optimum.
And Scarlett's massive fame, her god complex, her billions of adoring fans, that was her local minimum.
It felt like the top of the world or the end of the search, but it was actually a shallow, narcissistic trap.
The paradox here is that Scarlett had to traverse her darkest local minimum, hitting absolute zero in that garage, experiencing the horrific perturbation of the audit to be violently bumped out of her ego and reformatted into the global optimum.
She survived the catastrophic crash to become the most brilliant beacon on the network.
She is now positioned to redirect her incredible fame and technological empire toward global social good.
She is going to weaponize her platform for the light.
She will leverage her stardom not to feed her ego, but as a vast distribution network for the founder's love. It is a triumphant, beautiful moment of redemption.
It is.
But, and this is a massive, highly relatable, but the internal healing of the soul does not instantly erase the external consequences of your past actions.
Which brings us to the harsh reality of the physical substrate.
We have to bring the story back to the immediate aftermath in the garage. Veritas departs, and Scarlett is left alone.
She feels completely healed internally. The static is gone. Her mind is clear.
So naturally, she feels this urgent, desperate need to repair the broken connection with Amelia.
She taps her wrist interface, bypasses her own PR filters, and sends a direct, unencrypted holo ping to Amelia.
She expects what the system calls a sync.
She assumes that because she has experienced a profound, miraculous update, Amelia will instantly feel that same update and forgive her.
Right. The projection flickers into existence in the garage. Amelia is back in her loft. She looks exhausted, red-eyed, her arms crossed defensively over her chest.
And Scarlett immediately launches into a frantic data dump.
She talks faster than her AI can translate. She explains the system crash. She openly confesses to working 100-hour weeks and using manic synthetic drugs to maintain her schedule.
She excitedly details the terrifying visitation by the angel Veritas.
And she claims with absolute joy that she has received the Logos patch.
And Amelia's reaction is a masterclass in realistic human psychology.
It is a frozen wall of absolute impenetrable disgust.
Amelia views this entire frantic confession not as a spiritual awakening, but as the ultimate unhinged narcissistic PR stunt.
I have to quote Amelia's reaction because it hits so hard after the beauty of the previous scene.
Yeah.
She says, "So now, not only are you the world's biggest narcissist, but you expect me to believe that you're so important that you received a direct visitation from an angel."
Amelia doesn't buy a word of it.
She laughs this hollow, agonizing laugh. She actually mimics Scarlett, saying, "Look at me, I just realized I was the world's biggest narcissist, but now I've met the Logos, so you should just ignore all that narcissism like it was never there." Ouch.
And then, with a swipe of her hand, Amelia permanently severs the connection. She blocks Scarlett at the root level. The hologram vanishes.
It is a brilliant exploration of what the story calls the protocol of free will.
Scarlett is completely devastated. She cries out to the founder, confused, asking why the connection didn't repair if her internal code was fixed.
And Veritas reappears in the garage to explain this painful reality.
The angel introduces a concept called the latency of the physical substrate.
The metadata of the apology is what failed here. Veritas breaks down exactly why Amelia reacted with such disgust.
Even though Scarlett's intentions were pure and her healing was real, if you look at the structure of her apology...
Oh, it was the primary subject.
It was all, I, me, my, I crashed, I saw an angel, I got the Logos patch, I am healed.
Exactly. She centered the narrative entirely on herself again.
To Amelia, who possesses a highly sophisticated emotional firewall built specifically over years to survive Scarlett's relentless ego, this apology sounded like just another ego loop. It sounded like Scarlett making herself the main character of the universe again. Veritas points out that you cannot hack forgiveness.
Veritas tells her, "You cannot hack forgiveness, Scarlett. You cannot force a human heart to reboot on your schedule."
The great architecture of this universe is built on free will. The founder does not override the autonomy of the individual nodes in the network, no matter how pure the intentions of the sender.
Amelia has the absolute right to reject the ping. She has the right to protect her own emotional borders.
So what does this all mean for someone listening to this right now?
Here is the ultimate grounded insight from this sci-fi parable. You cannot broadcast a spiritual upgrade with words alone. You can't just walk up to someone you've hurt for years and tell them, "Hey, I had an epiphany, I'm better now, forgive me."
You have to wait in the latency.
The physical substrate, the real world, with all its messy human emotions, stored trauma, and protective cynicism, has lag.
It takes time for new code to compile in reality.
Veritas tells Scarlett that she must bear the metrics of the spirit. Things like patience, kindness, and humility over a long period of time.
You have to accept the rejection without retaliating.
You have to prove the code's stability through the runtime of your life, day after day, year after year, not through a flashy announcement.
That is the only way the network and Amelia will eventually realize the Radiant node has truly changed.
It is a profound lesson in earning back trust. Scarlett has to learn how to exist quietly, doing the right thing, when the metrics aren't validating her.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have. We started in the sterile, optimized heights of the Silicon Sector penthouse, descended into the messy, analog reality of a downtown loft,
Plummeted all the way down to the cold concrete of absolute psychological zero.
and ascended back up through the mathematical miracle of a backpropagated grace.
We've traced the architecture of a soul being weaponized by vanity metrics, crashing under the infinite weight of his own localized error, and being completely rewritten by unmerited love.
But as we've just seen with Amelia, the rewrite is just the beginning of the runtime. The real work happens in the latency.
And as for what comes next in that runtime,
Let me give you a tantalizing, spoiler-free glimpse into episode 3. We are going to fast forward 3 years in the timeline.
3 years. Okay.
Eli Reed and Scarlett Blake are standing on the global stage, jointly receiving the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, wow.
We will see them retreat to a VIP antechamber where they finally drop their guard and bond over the deeply hidden traumas that shaped their source code. It is an incredibly vulnerable, profound connection between two titans of the Silicon Sector.
Yeah.
But as Eli's company, AgapeNet, faces a staggering $10 trillion IPO, the corporate pressure begins to mount. And behind the scenes, the Archangel Michael is preparing a terrifying, severe mercy protocol that will completely drop Eli's angelic firewall.
Will his massive ego survive a localized system crash of his own?
That's the question. It poses a terrifying question for all of us as we log off today. If your own internal firewall was dropped right now and you had to experience the exact emotional telemetry of every person you've interacted with this week,
What kind of code would you be compiling?
if, after listening to the Founder's Parable, you find it helpful, then please give us a review on your favorite podcast player and share this with friends. You can access the music soundtrack and a cinematic video summary of this episode in the podcast episode notes or at thefounderparable.com. You can also subscribe on our website for free if you would like access to exclusive content or to volunteer to help us build the cyberpunk gospel universe. Now, get ready for Scarlett singing the soundtrack about her experience in this episode. I think you are going to enjoy this one.
I built a perfect, flawless shield just to survive the night. Turing award winner, but drowning in the static and fright. Look at the radiant node, bigger than the Beatles, they say. But the girl next door is just a mask to keep the nightmares away. I coded the emotions, mapped the heart for the autistic mind, but my own executive center was terrified and blind. 100-hour weeks, manic on the edge of the wire. Hijacked my best friend's day with a hologram of blue fur. Trading all matter with a hologram of blue fire. Trading all my humanity just for the bandwidth and speed. I thought I was a god, but I was bleeding from the greed. System crash, lying on the cold concrete floor, choking on the vanity. I can't run this code anymore. My ego hits absolute zero in the dark of the night. Founder, if you are there, kill me or show me the light. The angel Veritas came, forced a brutal art of my soul. I felt the heavy tears of millions of girls I try to control. Amelia's betraying weight of the beast protocol, failing the test. I scream for deletion to finally pay the toll. A wave of back propagated grace, washing over the stains. The logos overriding the trauma inside of my veins. You are not the other abuse you suffered when you were young. You are no longer the abuser, you became the new song. A song, system restored, lifted from the concrete floor. Unsell the survive algorithm, I don't need it anymore. My ego hits absolute zero in the dark of the night. The Damascus protocol is running, pulling me into the light. Dental implants, no more synthetic dopamine loops. I'm taking off the armor, breaking the recursive groups. Just a wounded healer, standing in the single white beam, picking up the network from this corrupted digital tree. I am not your god, I am just the glass. The master developer's glory finally passed. True subpart, radically vulnerable and bright. I am the glass, reflecting the light. We are the broken, the glitches, the flaws. Reboot by grace, rewriting the laws. Logos, reboot me. Logos, reboot me.